Lord of the Rings meets End of Watch with nowhere near the chemistry. I'm interested. Bright. So Bright's directed by David Ayer. He directed Fury. He also directed that other movie I still hear about to this day. It stars Will Smith and Joel Edgerton. Will Smith is a cop in LA. Joel Edgerton is an orc who's also a cop in LA. Yeah, the weird thing about this world is it's taken a lot of fantasy elements and integrated them into our society. It's not just like a dimension ripped open. They were like, hey, we're here now, so let's integrate. Now they talk about events that happened a couple thousand years ago, so though they don't go into great detail, it's safe to assume this is just an alternate reality to our own. It's a world that's our world, but it has fantasy elements in it. Centaurs, fairies, orcs, elves in modern day, which is used in the movie to show racial profiling. Doesn't really land the way they want it to, but it's in there. It's just so on the nose. Fairy lives don't matter today is a line in the movie. Butterfly Effect says if that's the case, if all of this stuff are events that happened a couple thousand years ago and just the magical world has evolved into a modern world, the world would be really different. They make an Alamo reference and a Shrek reference. Butterfly Effect says the Alamo probably wouldn't have happened, and Shrek, if it did happen, would probably be, I don't know, some history piece. If at all, I'm just saying Shrek exists because orcs don't exist. That's what makes Shrek fun. So if orcs did exist, I don't think Shrek would happen. That's just me nitpicking though. That's where my brain goes. It kind of takes me out of it. But the point of the movie is to have a modern world that looks like our world. So you can't alter it too much. Otherwise it ceases to be our world and the interesting part's gone. What I like about this movie is the concept. The concept of Bright is way more interesting than the execution of Bright. Not that the movie can't be enjoyable. You have a couple of cops. One of them is an orc. The orc's kind of a loner. They're looking for this wand because wands are super OP. It's ultimately an escort mission for 75% of the movie. They gotta take this young elf girl with a wand and escort it from A to B. That's what they gotta do. All the while, there are other elves and magical beings on their trail. You're causing them trouble along the way. Get into a couple of gang fights, one with a human gang, another with an orc gang. The script is, dude, there are lines in this movie I'm like, that was written, and that went past a lot of people. I don't know if it was ad-libbed or if that was actually in the script. We are the cavalry. I am the city. And Will Smith and Joel Edgerton, for a long period of time in this movie, didn't really have chemistry. Their chemistry was pretty shit. By the end, it pays off because there's supposed to be a couple of cops who don't want to be cops together. But most of the good cop movies I know, even if they don't want to be cops, they find a way to make it work. And earlier on, they start to see the quality of this partnership. This movie, I was like, come on, you guys would be better off alone. And it's not even the fun bickering. There is this scene at the beginning where they're in a car together and they're just arguing for so long. I was like, the scene's still going. What's happening? And as much as I do not have the cleanest mouth I've ever met, they say the word fuck way too much. Tarantino ends up doing it in a stylistic way that actually makes it amusing and funny. Generally speaking, Quentin Tarantino illustrates the true diversity of the F word. But in this movie, it was like, all right, they have to say fuck every other sentence. Otherwise, it's just not going to be hardcore. It just took me out of it. It's like everyone was just posturing, being like, hey, I curse. That means I'm tough. That means we're an awesome rated R movie on Netflix. And I just didn't see it that way. At a point in this movie, I was like, this officially feels like a straight to DVD movie or made for TV movie or straight to Blu-ray movie, however you want to phrase it these days. Point is, a movie that didn't come out in theaters. I don't even know if this movie is in theaters. And the movie is way too long. If this movie were generously 15 minutes or so shorter, would have focused up the point, you would have yourself a pretty solid Netflix movie. The fact that it drags on does drag it down. Guys, in the end, Bright was a mixed bag for me. The lore is interesting. The world itself, the concept is interesting. I'm sure it wanted to be as cool and stylistic as Fables or The Wolf Among Us, but a live action movie version. But the movie itself was bland at times. The script was shit at times. Some of the editing choices were a little obscure too. It's almost like initially in filming, they went from point A to point C and they were like, ah, crap, we had to show what happened in B, so we have to go back and refilm, but it just feels choppy. But there's fun you can have in here if you're a fantasy fan like myself and you want to see a merging of a fantasy world and a cop movie in our modern day. In the end, I will say the world of Bright has potential. I saw that potential in some scenes, and by the end, Joel Edgerton and Will Smith didn't annoy me together like they did near the beginning. And Bright can have some enjoyment if you're drunk. Yeah, no, it's a buddy. I'm not gonna lie, I sat down, I was like, okay, let's massacre a movie. Because the internet's talking about how this might be the worst buzz fire they've seen all year, and I was like, it's not that terrible. I mean, it's not great, but it has some enjoyment in there. All right, guys, so Bright on Netflix. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.